On October 15th at 11:45 a.m., the American ambassador to France drove to the Élysée Palace to place in the hands of the President of the French Republic a personal letter from the President of the United States. Dear Mr. President, in view of the exceptional gravity of the matter, I have felt it necessary to communicate with you directly, without recourse to normal diplomatic usage. From the facts revealed to us by a high-ranking member of the Soviet Secret Service who has just been granted political asylum in the United States, we have learned of the existence in France of a vast espionage network which operates for the Soviet Union. Its members are within the decision-making echelons of your government and exercise the highest political, military, and economic functions. My services are at your disposition to supply the details which will enable you to neutralize this threat to the security of France and the free world.
Monsieur le Président de la République va vous recevoir.
Paris, Orly Airport, September 15th, 4:20 p.m.
Departure to Moscow, flight number 302, even boarding gate number 3. Départ à destination de Moscou, vol 302, embarquement immédiat, porte numéro 3.
Monsieur et Madame Vlassov, vol 302, Moscou. Porte numéro 3.
Departure to Agadir, Royal Maroc Air France flight 645, immediate boarding, gate number 45. Départ à destination d'Agadir, vol Royal Air Maroc Air France 645, embarquement immédiat, porte numéro 45. Departure to Istanbul, Turkish Airlines flight 982. Immediate boarding, gate number 30. Départ à destination d'Istanbul, vol Turkish Airlines 882. Embarquement immédiat, porte numéro 30.
A bottle of brandy, please.
Oui, monsieur.
Merci.
Departure to Rome, Air France flight 636, immediate boarding, gate number 45. Départ à destination de Rome, vol Air France 638. Embarquement immédiat, porte numéro 45. License per Roma, volo Air France 636. Mr. Vlassov, passenger of flight 302 to Moscow, is kindly requested to proceed gate number 3 for immediate boarding. Monsieur Vlassov.
Monsieur Alexei Fedorovitch, Fedorovitch Vlassov. Deuxième conseiller à l'ambassade du RSS. Oui, à Paris. Il demande autoprotection. Non, il y a aussi sa femme qui est dans la salle d'embarquement. Monsieur Vlassov a peur que sa femme soit emmenée de force.
We inform passengers that the flight 302 to Moscow will be delayed. Departure expected in 1 hour. Passengers are required to proceed to the bar where refreshments will be served. Nous informons les passagers que le vol 302 à destination de Moscou est retardé d'1 heure. Les passagers sont priés de se rendre au bar où des refreshments...
Он шел в посадочную и вдруг бросился к двери полицию аэропорта. Тут, около. Я ничего не мог сделать. Да. Хорошо, я попробую.
Я же вам повторяю, он мне ничего не говорил, я ничего не знаю, как вы хотите.
Madame, je vais vous demander de me remettre votre passeport. Soyez sans inquiétude, madame, un représentant de notre ministère des Affaires étrangères va arriver.
Le premier secrétaire de notre ambassade est également en route.
We inform passengers that the flight 302 to Moscow will be delayed due to the late arrival of the incoming aircraft. Lunch will be served. Departure expected in 2 hours. Nous informons les passagers que le vol 302 à destination de Moscou est retardé.
Carbon, directeur de l'aéroport, mon adjoint. Ces messieurs de l'ambassade soviétique sont déjà dans la salle des conférences. Si vous voulez me suivre.
Colonel Vlassov has behaved in a regrettable manner, but this is understandable. He is on the point of a nervous breakdown. In fact, he's returning to Moscow on sick leave.
If Monsieur Vlassov wishes to remain in France, we have some excellent neurologists.
Inspector Joss.
Hello, Inspector.
Madame Vlassov is here.
We protest your treatment of Madame Vlassov. She holds a diplomatic passport. It has been taken from her. This is illegal sequestration.
I must assume, monsieur, that you do not fully understand the use of the words you employ. Needless to say, if Madame Vlassov wishes to leave this country, she is free to do so at any time. This, moreover, is what we are about to ask her, if you will permit.
Would you please come in, madame? No, Madame Vlassov.
Sit down, please, madame. Madame, do you wish to take the plane to Moscow? You may speak without fear.
Where is my husband? I want to see my husband.
Monsieur Vlassov, please.
Полковник Власов, еще есть время. Одумайтесь.
Вам я ничего не должен объяснять.
Monsieur, if you cannot speak French, you will kindly restrict yourselves to English.
Алексей, что случилось? Что значит? Что мне делать?
Madame, we must ask you to speak only in French or English.
Tatiana, I'm not going back. I'm asking you to come with me. There is nothing to be afraid of. We will be protected.
And the children?
Tatiana, Ivan is 20. Grigory, 18. They have grown up.
I'm going home.
Gentlemen, once again, I'm asking you to take me to the embassy of the United States of America.
Of course, you are going to the Americans. But first, you listen to me, Monsieur le Conseiller Soviétique. You are Colonel Alexei Vlassov of the KGB. We have been watching you for months. Try to understand our position. We cannot let you go off like that. We are not running a travel agency. Pick me up at the airport, drop me off at the American embassy. You have to give us something for all this. Look, we are asking very little, comrade. Answer one question for us. One little one. And we're even. If it weren't for us, you'd be on your way to Red Square. You owe us something.
It is true that I requested your protection. Now I'm asking you to take me to the embassy of the United States.
Il ne parlera pas. Monsieur le directeur, nous avons encore 48 heures devant nous.
Il n'a pas dormi la nuit dernière. Il ne va pas beaucoup dormir cette nuit. Il sera moins frais demain, croyez-moi.
Oui. Ici Lefebvre. Excusez-moi de vous déranger, monsieur le directeur, mais j'ai quelqu'un à vous faire entendre.
Allez-y.
Allez, racontez votre histoire.
Je viens de le faire.
Ah oui, eh bien, répétez-la. Dites d'abord qui vous êtes.
Je m'appelle Janine Santelli. Je suis vendeuse à la boutique Duty Free d'Orly. Ce matin, vers 11h, le monsieur est venu pour acheter une bouteille de cognac. Je raconte tout.
Mais oui.
En payant la bouteille, il m'a glissé dans la main un billet de 100 francs avec un bout de papier plié à l'intérieur. Et puis tout d'un coup, il s'est précipité comme un fou dans le bureau de la police. Voilà.
Je vous lis le message, monsieur le directeur. Téléphonez tout de suite au 265 74 60. C'est l'ambassade des États-Unis. Et dites qu'Alexei Fedorovitch Vlassov demande le droit d'asile aux États-Unis. Merci.
Et il a téléphoné, bien entendu.
Oui, monsieur le directeur.
Bon. Mais Tavel, c'est cuit. Vous n'avez plus 48 heures devant vous. L'ambassade américaine va nous tomber sur le dos. À moins que vous vous trompiez d'ambassade.
Laissez-moi faire.
Tavel. En douceur, n'est-ce pas?
Just give me the names of your French contacts and we won't say any more.
I ask you, please, to take me to the embassy of the United States.
Colonel Vlassov, if you want to go to the embassy.
À l'ambassade soviétique.
I do not think you will go through with it.
You'll know in 1 minute.
You're committing a professional blunder.
I know.
Oui, je comprends parfaitement, monsieur le ministre. Mais permettez-moi de constater qu'une fois de plus, les affaires étrangères ne tiennent aucun compte des impératifs de notre travail. Vlassov est un gros morceau. Oui, oui, bien sûr. Je m'incline, oui, oui. Mais je le déplore.
This is murder.
It is suicide.
What is it exactly that you want to know?
Tavel, vous m'entendez? Où êtes-vous?
Devant l'ambassade soviétique, monsieur le directeur.
Entrez immédiatement.
Monsieur le directeur.
Entrez immédiatement.
My name's O'Brien, American Embassy.
Vous m'avez appelé 3 minutes trop tôt. Il allait craquer.
Vous n'avez pas eu grand-chose, Tavel. Vous savez bien que la France n'a pas les moyens de se payer un transfuge.
Here we are, Mr. Vlassov. Smoke Americans?
Oh. This may be a bit mild for me.
You'll get used to them. Your plane will leave in half an hour. You should be in Washington at 2:30 p.m. local time. Have a nice trip, and good luck.
Thank you.
At 2:30 p.m. local time, Colonel Alexei Fedorovich Vlassov arrived in Washington aboard a special plane. He was immediately taken to Langley, Virginia, 20 minutes from the White House, site of the headquarters of the Central Intelligence Agency. It is the largest government building in the Washington area after the Pentagon. The grounds cover 140 acres, and the installations cost the American taxpayers about $46 million. The CIA employs about 200,000 agents abroad. Around 10,000 employees work at headquarters. Among them are research specialists, experts in electronics, economists, psychologists, atomic scientists, surgeons, doctors, pilots, cryptologists, experts on Islamic jurisprudence, on Chinese naval construction, on politics, metallurgy, judo, chemistry, physics, and microfilm. 200,000 communist publications are translated into English every month, even the most innocuous. Road maps, railroad timetables, telephone directories, reports of medical association meetings or scientific organizations all contribute to a constant flow of bits of information which are immediately filed and cross-indexed. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, experts in every language in the world listen to foreign radio broadcasts to analyze every scrap of information. Machine translation computers working at 30,000 words an hour, a special microfilm laboratory, ultra-high-speed duplicating and printout machines, 40 million punch cards are among the devices which give the CIA the most extensive files in the world. And finally, of course, there are the unpublicized activities, the special operations of the clandestine services. Often their responsibilities are to support the government in some countries, to foment rebellion in others, and sometimes to bring down a government. The New York Times has estimated the CIA's annual budget at $1 billion. One man believes that it's never too expensive to be informed. That man is Alan Davies, Mr. CIA, autonomous director of this gigantic organization, which has often been called a state within the state. It was in this nerve center of American intelligence that Alexei Fedorovich Vlassov was to undergo his first test, the lie detector.
Do you intend to tell the whole truth?
Yes.
How old are you?
50. I was born the 11th of July, 1922, in Leningrad.
When did you arrive in Washington?
3 days ago.
When did you decide to choose freedom?
Freedom is a very personal conception.
Answer the questions as asked, Mr. Vlassov. Do you love your children?
Yes.
Have you ever had sexual relations with a girl underage?
No.
Have you ever wanted to have sexual relations with a girl underage?
No.
Have you ever had any sexual relations with a man?
No.
We are now in question 388. Have all your answers been truthful up to this point?
Yes. No, I've not been entirely truthful because your line of questioning has been stupid and obscene.
Mr. Vlassov, please answer yes or no only. Did you ask for political asylum in the United States?
Yes.
Did you do so with the intention of acting against the interests of the United States?
No. My action was not directed against the United States. It was directed against the tyrants who rule my country. I love my country.
Once again, Mr. Vlassov, yes or no only. Please. How long have you been married?
21 years.
Do you still have sexual relations with Mrs. Vlassov?
Under the circumstances, it would be rather difficult.
When was the last time you had sexual relations with Mrs. Vlassov?
Now you listen to me. I'm Colonel Alexei Fedorovich Vlassov of the KGB.
I left my family. I risked my life and traveled 5,000 miles because I have urgent and important matters to reveal to the government of the United States. Not to go over every detail of my private life for a bunch of frustrated sex maniacs.
Shall we continue, Mr. Vlassov? When were you last unfaithful to Mrs. Vlassov?
You probably already know, but I will confirm it for you. 1 month ago, with one of your compatriots.
Thank you.
Mrs. Lee, as a loyal American, you must realize that
My husband is American. I am Italian.
Madam, where did you meet Mr. Vlassov?
In Paris, at a party at the British Embassy.
Who introduced him to you?
We didn't need an introduction. I looked at him. He looked at me. And we left the party together.
Wasn't your husband there?
My husband is hardly ever there. We see each other once in a while, but that evening he wasn't there.
So you left with Mr. Vlassov. Where did you go?
To my hotel.
What impression did he make on you?
Quite an impression. You don't find many men like him anymore. Too bad.
Mrs. Lee, we're talking about Colonel Alexei Vlassov of the KGB, one of the top espionage specialists in the Soviet Union. During your conversations, he may have revealed things which could be of great interest to us.
I don't think what he revealed would be interesting to you. Anyway, how do you think Madhari operated? Sweetheart, how many tanks have you got between Kiev and Moscow? Or, Ivan Dali, tell me about your missus, and I'll be nice to you.
Mrs. Lee, please be serious. He didn't speak to you about his professional activities, his work?
You know what we say in Italy? If you want to know about man's work, talk to his wife. And if you want to know about his wife, talk to his mistress. But when a man wants to make love, he doesn't talk about missiles. He makes love. And then he snores. In America, it's different.
All right, Fred, we're ready.
Interrogation of Alexei Fedorovich Vlassov on the subject of his mission to Prague on the 25th of August, 1968, during the Czechoslovakian uprising. Ready.
Mr. Vlassov, who signed your mission orders for Prague?
Colonel Makarov. He was in charge of the People's Democracy section at the time.
What was the date on which you received the orders?
It was during the last week of August 1968. I cannot tell you the exact date.
Mr. Vlassov, why were you chosen for this mission?
I had worked a great deal with Melkishev, our authority on Czechoslovakia.
You stated that Colonel Makarov was your chief of section at that time?
That is correct.
Mr. Vlassov, are you certain that Colonel Makarov was in charge of the People's Democracy section in August of 1968?
No, you're right. Kanedevsky was still chief of that section.
Then how do you explain the fact that Makarov signed your mission orders to Prague?
Kanilevsky was on vacation in Crimea. Makarov was filling in for him.
Tell us about your trip to Prague.
There's nothing to tell. I took the plane in Damascus and landed in Prague.
Non-stop, Mr. Vlassov?
No, I changed planes in Nicosia.
No other stops?
Yes, you're right again. The plane developed some sort of technical trouble. I do not know what. We had to land in Sofia.
And then what happened?
I was met by Dubrovin, who had been there since the start of the events.
Mr. Vlassov, you're certain you're not mistaken about Dubrovin?
Absolutely. He drove out to meet me. We left the airport together in his car.
Nikolai Adrianovich Dubrovin.
No, of course not. I'm talking about Mikhail Andreevich Dubrovin. He is 15 years younger than the other one.
Sorry, Mr. Vlassov. You were met by Mikhail Andreevich Dubrovin. Continue.
He brought me up to date on the situation. Our tanks had already restored order, and we had only to clean up the odds and ends.
What do you mean by clean up the odds and ends?
Wipe out the last pockets of resistance, reestablish democratic socialism.
Re-establish Czechoslovakian democratic socialism with Russian tanks?
Yes, with the same Russian tanks that gave the Czechs their freedom in 1945, when they crushed Hitler's fascist armies.
Mr. Vlassov, were you still crushing Hitler's fascist armies in 1968?
Sometimes the same remedy will cure different diseases. The question of Czechoslovakia in 1968 was primarily of a strategic nature. This was the new frontier of our socialism. We had paid for it with 20 million dead in the war. Let me point out that you had your own new frontier. And you sent troops ashore in the Bay of Pigs to defend your way of life. We all live in glass houses.
Mr. Vlassov, if your new frontier was so perfect, why are you here today?
I am here because of Stepan Pavlovich Ivanov. I'll tell your machine not to bother. He's not on your files. He's a shoemaker. He had his shop in the basement of our block of flats in Moscow. He'd lost his two sons in the war, one in Stalingrad, the other one in a submarine. One night, I was coming home after midnight, and I saw a light. Stepan was bent over an old shoe, trying to make it into something usable. And as I watched him, I realized that I had spent a lifetime molding, manipulating, purging, breaking men down to make new men, better men. But for Stepan, 50 years of revolution had changed nothing. What was I to do? In my country, you do not fight the system from within. That is why I'm here.
Gentlemen, Vlassov is lying. The key question was number 390, which concerned his real intentions toward the United States. Did you do so with the intention of acting against the interests of the United States?
No. My action was not directed against the United States. It was directed against the tyrants who rule my country.
There's your lie, gentlemen.
Okay, we're ready. Vlassov lied. It certainly wasn't love of Mother Russia that brought him to Washington. Nor was it pity for his poor old communist cobbler. Let's look at the real reason. Moscow, May 1st, 1964. Excited crowds gathered to cheer the annual military parade. Nikita Khrushchev takes his place in the reviewing stand, surrounded by high military officials and Communist Party leaders. In accordance with strict protocol, Marshal Rodion Malinovsky, the Soviet defense minister, is the last to arrive at the reviewing stand. We recognize Marshal Grechko, Voroshilov, Marshal Malinovsky, Khrushchev, East German Prime Minister Willy Stoff, Suslov, Brezhnev, Cultural Affairs Minister Katerina Furtseva, Ivan Kuglov, Nikolai Komenkev, Tavashin, Vydensky, Kirov, Colonel Alexei Fedorovich Vlassov, and Vrborsky. Kirov had been in the Khrushchev camp for 15 years. When Vlassov marries his sister, Tatiana, he starts up the party ladder fast. But his talents justify the climb. With everyone in place, the parade begins. The students of the Frunze Military Academy, Voroshilov, Malinovsky, and Khrushchev salute. The Soviet Army's Lenin Political Academy. Brezhnev, Furtseva, and Mikoyan watch the procession. Representing the Soviet Navy, the sailors of the Baltic Fleet. The tank unit. They shorten the film because the military parade goes on for hours. In the middle, Marshal Seaman Budyeni. Now the May Day procession of Moscow's population begins. It's interesting to note that Soviet cameramen, no doubt following orders, always include Vlassov in every film showing military and party leaders. Flowers for Khrushchev, for Kirov, and also for Vlassov. We see Vlassov growing steadily more important as a member of Khrushchev's first team. A group that Khrushchev's rivals will later refer to as the personality cult. That was May Day, 1964. A few months later, in October, Khrushchev falls and is replaced by Brezhnev. Look carefully at the short documentary of the Communist Party Congress. This time, it's Brezhnev who leads the high officials and his own team to the platform. Don't bother to look for Kirov. He went down the drain with Khrushchev.
Товарищи делегаты, дорогие гости, товарищи, наши возможности неисчерпаемы.
Naturally, our friend Vlassov has lost his place in the sun as well. You can spot him in the back rows of the hall. Just another face in the crowd, and he's back in his colonel's uniform. It was the beginning of the end. In 1966, he is assigned to the Soviet embassy in Ankara, posing as an assistant cultural attaché. So it's there that we get our initial talent spot on Vlassov from our British colleagues. Mr. Philip Boyle of the Secret Intelligence Service. Sir?
Thank you. Yes, well, I met him first when I was stationed in Turkey. He seemed to me to be a worthwhile
target. There was something vulnerable about him. But anyway, I arranged a few more meetings like that, all rather casual. I got on rather well with him. He always seemed to be rather bitter and disillusioned. There was no question about that. But I wasn't absolutely convinced that his rock-bottom communism was all that shattered. He was clearly recruitable. Anyway, I thought the best thing to do was to let the fruit ripen on the tree, as we say. So I passed the information over to you and that rather idiotic photograph. And really, that's about all. Thank you.
After Ankara, 3 years back in Moscow. Then he was sent to Paris as a second secretary in the embassy there. Ever since Ankara, his private life has begun to fall apart. In Paris, he has allowed a few indiscretions. But after this one, the axe falls, he is recalled to Moscow. 50 years old and not a prayer of making general. He'll be retired as a colonel, unless there's an even stiffer punishment waiting for him in Moscow. And from what he's seen of the West, life there seems freer, easier, much more suited to the tastes of a retired colonel. So he defects. Gentlemen, these are the real reasons for Colonel Vlassov's presence among us today. Thank you.
You know, I think our Mr. Vlassov is a frightful liar.
Sure he's lying. I'd be worried if he didn't.
Yes, I suppose you would.
Vlassov's like anybody else, a little paranoid around the edges, but who isn't in this business? He wants to be able to live with himself, even if it means living with a traitor. What do you expect him to say? That'll teach the sons of bitches not to promote me. Hell no, he needs a little something more noble. So he works up a lie about tyrants and poor shoemakers. I kind of like his lies. They ring true. You leaving tonight?
Yep. Due in London tomorrow. Anyway, you'll keep in touch, right?
Of course. If he tells us anything, you'll be the first to know. We won't forget Ankara. I'm Ellen Davies.
I know.
Mr. Vlassov, you're going to be our guest for the next 6 months. Of course, we'll do everything we can to make your stay a pleasant one.
Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Kate Cross. I'm here to keep you company.
You don't say.
I could be your housekeeper, your secretary, your friend, you name it.
How much are they paying you for these, special services?
Plenty. Do I move in with you, or do I take the guest room?
I think you'll be better off in the, guest room.
You know, if you like to change housekeepers, It's not a problem. I won't be hurt.
Ah, not at all. You're a perfectly lovely housekeeper. And under any other circumstances, I would have been absolutely delighted.
Then what's the problem?
I do not like performing in public. The Soviet Union and its block of satellites pose a constant power threat to the security of the West. To meet this threat, you have built yourselves a bulwark. This bulwark is a military alliance among the 14 nations under your control. You call that alliance NATO. It has played its part in maintaining peaceful coexistence. So far, so good. But I'm here to tell you now that unless you act fast, very fast, within 2 years, there will be no more NATO. You have been penetrated. Every high-level secret decision taken in NATO has been delivered to my desk as soon as it was to yours. This was possible because our sources are within the top echelons of the alliance. I said the top echelons.
You have the names?
Most of them. All, except in England. I have no particulars on England. As for France, who, even though she has stepped out of NATO, is still the key to the defense of Europe, I have 2 names. And tangible proof to back them up. Your weakest point is West Germany. There, I have a number of names.
Somewhere near Munich, October the 5th, 7 a.m.
Das Pferd ist ja nicht allein zurückgekommen.
I must tell you that I personally took the liberty of sending the news of your impending meeting with von Streitz to the very top level of the bomb government.
You what? I stopped all NATO-coded message traffic for 2 days. I sent you a personal representative to help you set up this meeting in absolute secrecy, then you spill the whole thing to your people in Bonn.
I couldn't avoid it. You are chief of the CIA, and you come for a secret meeting with General von Streilitz, commander-in-chief of Germany's defense forces, and obviously I cannot conceal it from my own authorities.
Now, in about an hour, you're going to be able to tell them that their General von Streilitz is a Soviet agent, and that there are others.
Vlassov? Davis, in my 40 years in the espionage field, I have learned to expect anything. But General von Streilitz, Horst Felsen, my highest assistant for 10 years. I can't believe. Suicide. Perhaps the best solution. It means no scandal.
Terrific. No scandal. But that's not the end of it. What are you going to do about Felsen?
Felsen is on vacation.
On the Königssee, a lake in southern Germany. October 8th, 8:30 a.m.
Kinder, kommt frühstücken.
Ja, komm schon.
The body of Horst Felsen was recovered during the course of the day of October 9th. London, October 10th, 11:30 a.m.
London always seems to snarl itself up before it's
Oh, I should count it out. Oh, martini, very dry.
And another glass of sherry.
Have you been having this weather?
5 days of it solid, but it's better than fog. How's the flight?
Not bad. I didn't have to leave too early. Have to be back in Washington tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. I prefer to travel by boat and train, but of course it's a much more old-fashioned and elegant method of travel.
Am I scaring them off?
No. It's a British habit. They're being discreet. It's bad form to eavesdrop on MI6, especially if it's a member of one's own club.
You mean they know about you?
No. They simply know that Sir Alfred Boyle was my father, Sir Francis my grandfather, and our coat of arms has a cloak and a dagger. There we are.
Cheers.
Cheers. Now then, how's our Mr. Vlassov coming along?
He's in great shape, talking his head off.
I'm delighted to hear it.
You'd better hear what he's been talking about, then tell me how delighted you are.
You mean bad news?
I'm on my way back from Germany. They hit the jackpot. The French didn't do badly themselves, even though they're on the outside. We should probably thank them for withdrawing their spies from NATO along with the rest. We're handling France government to government. Personal letter from the president. It's touchy.
Yes, but, I wouldn't be too hard on the French, you know. We're all very much in the same boat. I mean, nobody minds throwing out their own rotten apple, but they... Well, we do hate being told that our barrel stinks. To high heaven. Anyway, what about lunch,
Philip, the barrel stinks to high heaven.
Which barrel? You mean one of ours?
Foreign Office. Jonathan Lane and George Berger.
Munich, October 15th, 10 a.m.
Auf Helligkeit, siehe, so wandeln wir im Dunkeln. Wir tasten wie die Blinden entlang einer Mauer und sind im Düstern wie die Toten. Olaf Deisenhofen, Otto von Dirsching, Wilhelm Friedrich Ludinger, Michael Darenhaupt, Hans-Georg Lindequist, Theodor Siegenhardt, Horst Felsen.
Bonjour, Bertrand. Poor Felsen. He couldn't even manage a funeral to himself. Did you know the family?
I've spent a few weekends with them. They have a cottage by a lake. Nice place to get away from it all.
You're being a bit heavy-handed, old Dan.
What are you talking about?
Felsen was drowned in that lake. And not without help from outside. The Germans are spring cleaning, avoiding a scandal.
Felsen? A Soviet agent?
Heute ist unser Vaterland in Trauer.
But why this masquerade?
A military aircraft crashes. Routine flying accident. 7 bodies. Throw in Felsen. 8 coffins. No scandal.
Felsen was on Vlassov's list.
Now do you see how stupid you were to get out of NATO? Nobody tells you bloody frog's a thing, you know. Yes. Yes, he was on the list.
I see 3 possibilities. First, Felsen unmasked, kills himself. Second, Felsen is suicided by the Germans to hush the affair. Third, Felsen is liquidated by the Russians to keep him quiet.
Yes. Vlassov's done a very good job on us all. We're beginning to find Felsens everywhere we look.
You too?
The Foreign Office. Lane and Berger. That was very discreet, wasn't it? Anyway, keep it under your hat. We haven't moved yet. In any case, we shall all be sharing our secrets in the common market soon. How are things with you?
I was told to be at the Élysée Palace at 4 this afternoon. We'll receive the names from the president himself.
Every single spook in the business is here to have one last sniffle over poor old Felsen. You know, one single bomb could put back spying in the West 20 years.
Paris, the residence of the President of the Republic of France, the Élysée Palace, October 15th, 5:30 p.m.
Monsieur le Président de la République va vous recevoir.
Voilà les 2 cadeaux de Vlassov.
Monsieur Tavel, le gouvernement m'a chargé d'assurer la continuité de cette maison jusqu'à la fin de l'enquête sur le cas Berton. Ceci pour vous dire que ma présence ici est provisoire et que, bien sûr, je compte sur vous pour m'aider dans cette pénible tâche.
Deval s'occupe d'avoir le rapport technique sur les ennuis de transmission de nos sous-marins atomiques.
Nous avons apprécié sa fourniture sur les ventes d'armes en Afrique. Elle a fait déjà belle.
Dans une huitaine de jours.
Parfait. Pour notre prochain rendez-vous, celui se contactera par la filière normale.
Stupéfiant, non?
Pas tellement. C'est le dernier acte. Le début est là-dedans. Sous l'occupation allemande de 42 à 44, Lucien Berton travaille pour la propagande nazie. À la Libération, procès. Dès la deuxième audience, pour tout le monde, c'est cuit. À la dernière minute, Berton sort le témoin miracle. Gribowski. Qui déclare, Monsieur le Président, l'accusé faisait partie de mon réseau et tout ce qu'il a fait, c'était pour la résistance. Or, 3 ans plus tard,
nous retrouvons Gribowski, fiché comme agent soviétique.
Conclusion?
Monsieur le directeur, si vous êtes Gribowski, qu'est-ce que vous dites à Berton? Je te blanchis, mais tu travailles pour moi. Je vous signale enfin que lors du passage de Vlassov dans notre maison, c'est Berton qui m'a suggéré de le ramener devant l'ambassade soviétique pour le faire parler. Qu'en pensez-vous, monsieur le directeur?
Eh bien, je pense que vous voilà à la place de Berton.
Monsieur le directeur, afin d'éviter tout malentendu sur mon comportement dans cette affaire, je crois qu'il serait bon que je me définisse. Je suis marié depuis 23 ans et j'ai 4 enfants. Un mariage sans histoire et parfaitement heureux. Ma femme vient de la campagne. Elle est la fille d'un viticulteur du Bordelais. Pendant 23 ans, en admirable femme d'intérieur, elle ne s'est occupée que de sa maison et de ses 4 enfants. Et elle ne connaît rien, mais strictement rien, aux affaires des services secrets. Eh bien, si aujourd'hui vous me convoquiez dans votre bureau pour me dire, Tavel, votre femme est un agent soviétique depuis 23 ans, je vous répondrai immédiatement et sans hésitation. C'est très possible, monsieur le directeur. Et ce n'est qu'après les résultats de l'enquête, si elle était totalement négative, que je me permettrai de penser qu'il était impensable qu'on puisse soupçonner ma femme.
Quand on m'a donné le choix entre la préfecture de Saint-Lô et la réorganisation de ce service, j'aurais mieux fait de choisir Saint-Lô. Voilà. Je vous laisse, Tavel. Vous allez avoir beaucoup de travail.
Commissaire divisionnaire Tavel, je vous remercie d'être venu, monsieur de Val.
Mais je vous en prie. Mais j'avais rendez-vous avec monsieur de Bécourt.
Monsieur de Bécourt va vous recevoir dans quelques instants. Nous sommes désolés d'avoir à vous imposer cette épreuve.
Quelle épreuve?
Non, ce sera très court. Si vous voulez prendre place. Je pense qu'il est préférable que je vous laisse seul. Je vous retrouverai tout de suite après. Vous pouvez envoyer.
Monsieur de Bécourt nous attend.
Asseyez-vous, je vous en prie. Monsieur Deval, il est bien évident que si vous n'étiez pas l'un des plus hauts fonctionnaires de notre défense nationale, la vie privée de votre fille n'intéresserait qu'elle. Et ce film ne nous aurait pas été communiqué par nos collègues allemands.
Il y a 2 ans, vos collègues, comme vous dites, ont tout de même essayé sur moi un chantage ignoble.
Écoutez, monsieur Deval, votre fille va faire ça à Hambourg. Elle offre aux Allemands la possibilité de recruter le numéro 3 de notre défense nationale.
J'aurais fait comme eux. C'est donc à ce moment-là, monsieur Deval, que vous faites appel à Berton. C'est ça?
Oui, je le connaissais. C'était naturel, non?
Ce qui est peut-être moins naturel, c'est que vous l'ayez contacté sur le plan privé. Car nous n'avons aucune trace ici de cette intervention.
Mais qu'est-ce que vous auriez fait à ma place? Une conférence de presse? Berton me promet d'étouffer l'affaire et il le fait. Que voulez-vous de mieux pour vous? Et pour moi?
Oui, nous le savons maintenant. Berton intervient auprès de Felsen, qui avait monté l'opération allemande contre vous, et les choses en restent là.
Felsen et Berton avaient des liens très étroits.
Oui? Eh bien alors?
Alors? Qu'est-ce qu'il vous a demandé, Berton, en échange?
Berton? Mais rien du tout, c'est une plaisanterie. Mais faites-le venir immédiatement.
Deval s'occupe d'avoir le rapport technique sur les ennuis de transmission de nos sous-marins atomiques.
Nous avons apprécié sa fourniture sur les ventes d'armes en Afrique. Et l'affaire Jebel.
Dans une huitaine de jours.
Comme tous les constructeurs français, comme tous les pilotes qui gagnent, comme tous les constructeurs qui pensent sécurité, équipez vous aussi votre voiture de projecteur à iode Alba. Alba, toute une gamme de projecteurs à iode, type 40 pour voir large, route de pointe type 95 pour voir loin. Alba, c'est votre sécurité. Pour que votre moquette garde sa souplesse, son velouté, sa couleur, il faut la nettoyer avec Clean R2. Clean R2 détache à sec et ravive les couleurs très facilement. Clean R2 pour que vos moquettes gardent l'aspect du neuf. Clean R2 en vente chez votre droguiste. Il est 19h30, vous êtes à l'écoute d'Europe 1. C'est maintenant l'heure du débat d'Europe Soir que vous présente Georges Leroy.
Bonsoir à tous. Nous recevons ce soir Lucien Berthaud, directeur du contre-espionnage français. L'homme de l'affaire Berton, celui dont le métier était de se taire jusqu'à présent, sort de l'ombre pour répondre à vos questions. Il vous suffit d'appeler Alma 9000 et dans un instant, il va vous répondre. J'appelle d'ailleurs tout de suite notre standard car je crois qu'il y a déjà de nombreux appels.
551 87 98. Monsieur Riera, restez en ligne, ça va être à vous.
Monsieur Berton, à votre avis, ce qui vous arrive, est-ce une vengeance politique?
Mais il ne m'arrive rien, monsieur.
Mais je croyais que vous étiez suspendu.
C'est inexact. Je n'ai fait à ce jour l'objet d'aucune sanction administrative.
Bon, eh bien, je formule ma question autrement. Êtes-vous devant ce micro avec l'autorisation du ministre de l'Intérieur?
Eh bien, monsieur, rien ne vous empêche d'appeler Anjou 2830 et de poser directement la question au ministre.
Je crois que ce n'est pas la peine. Vous venez de me répondre. Merci.
Essayez toujours, monsieur. Un autre appel maintenant?
C'est à vous, monsieur Schumann. Parlez.
Monsieur Berton, vous n'étiez pas à Lyon à une certaine époque?
Si,
Ce n'était pas pendant la guerre d'Algérie?
c'est exact.
Vous faisiez les interrogatoires?
C'est exact.
Je m'appelle Yassid Sleiman.
Oui?
Quand je suis sorti de votre bureau, c'était pour rentrer à l'hôpital. Vous vous souvenez de moi?
Non, pas particulièrement. Vous savez, Lyon, c'était il y a 15 ans.
Eh bien, moi, je m'en souviens très bien.
Ce n'est pas une question, monsieur. Avez-vous une question à poser à monsieur Berton?
Je n'ai pas de question.
peu près tout ce que je peux vous dire au sujet de l'affaire Benbarka. En tout cas, en ce qui me concerne.
Et maintenant, monsieur Berton, si vous voulez bien, une page de publicité. Nous retrouverons vos correspondants au téléphone dans quelques instants.
Demain matin, dans votre café, les Galores. Tiens, et pourquoi? Parce que Galore, c'est le bon lait concentré non sucré. Parce que Galore, c'est un seul lait de qualité qui, seul, peut vous donner un café au lait meilleur que jamais. Pour redécouvrir votre café au lait, Galore.
Après cette page de publicité, monsieur Berton, nous reprenons notre conversation. Question suivante.
Monsieur Berton, je vais être franc. Avez-vous des contacts personnels avec des agents de l'Est?
Parfaitement, monsieur. Chaque fois que j'en arrête.
Monsieur Berton, notre prochain interlocuteur, votre prochain interlocuteur sera Gilles Delarue, notre correspondant permanent à Londres. En effet, une dépêche vient de tomber sur ses téléscripteurs et ce soir, l'actualité se confond avec notre débat. Donc j'appelle Londres Gilles Delarue.
Eh bien, ça y est. Après les suicides allemands, après ce qu'il est convenu d'appeler l'affaire Berton en France, l'Angleterre, à son tour, connaît son scandale d'espionnage. La bombe a éclaté ce soir. 2 hauts fonctionnaires du Foreign Office, Burger et Lane, viennent de passer à l'Est. L'intelligence service recherche activement par quelle filière ils ont réussi à gagner Moscou. Et il est probable qu'on va enquêter tout spécialement à Paris, car dans les milieux autorisés, on laisse entendre que seul l'intelligence service et un agent secret français étaient au courant des soupçons qui pesaient sur Burger et Lane. Leur arrestation était imminente. Qui les a prévenus à temps? C'est la question que tout le monde se pose ici ce soir. C'est Gilles Delarue qui vient de vous parler de Londres, Europe numéro 1.
Alors, monsieur Berton, ma question va être très courte. Qu'en pensez-vous?
Mon Dieu, qu'est-ce que j'en pense? Si vos informations sont exactes...
Vous en doutez?
Non, non, c'est pas ce que je veux dire, mais enfin... On nous dit que messieurs Burger et Lane auraient été prévenus par un agent secret français ou par un membre de l'intelligence service. Ben, ça nous fait quelques milliers de suspects, ça, non? Alors je crois que le mieux, c'est d'attendre les résultats de l'enquête.
Bien sûr, alors, monsieur Berton, j'espère que nous vous retrouverons autour de ce micro pour commenter les résultats de cette enquête. C'était notre dernière question, car le temps qui nous est imparti est maintenant dépassé. Je vous rappelle que demain, nous recevrons le président directeur général de Matra, qui nous parlera en direct d'auto, Formule 1, 24 heures du Mans. Monsieur Berton, il me reste à vous remercier d'être venu au rendez-vous d'Europe numéro 1. Bonsoir à tous et à demain. Eh bien, tout ça a été beau, très vivant dans l'ensemble. Ça a bien marché?
Oui, je pense. Je vous remercie.
Georges, oui, j'arrive. Monsieur Berton, n'oubliez pas de venir boire un verre, mon bureau est au-dessus.
Entendu.
Lucien.
Ah. Tu étais là?
J'ai essayé de te téléphoner toute la matinée. Ça ne répondait pas. Je suis convoquée demain matin dans ton service. Qu'est-ce que tu crois qu'ils vont me demander?
Oh, ils vont te demander de leur parler de moi. Comment je vivais, les gens que je voyais. Si tu as été ma maîtresse. Le plus simple, c'est de leur dire la vérité.
Non, pas ça, Lucien, je ne peux pas. Mon mari dit le serait. Oui. Écoute, il y a 5 ans qu'on ne se voit plus. Je vais leur dire que nous nous sommes connus.
Ils le savent. Ils le savent. Ne t'inquiète pas. Ça ne sortira pas du service.
La convocation est au nom de monsieur et madame Walter. Je dois y aller avec lui. Lucien, si tu ne fais pas quelque chose, ma vie est foutue.
Qu'est-ce que tu veux que je fasse? Tu vois bien où j'en suis.
Lucien. C'était vrai l'histoire de l'Algérien?
Il rentre chez lui, prévenez du Cournot.
Dis donc, c'est un vrai coup de pouce, ce truc-là. Ici du Cournot. Bon, oui, on a terminé. C'est un vrai coup de pouce, ce truc-là. Ici du Cournot. Bon, oui, on a terminé.
Allô? Oui, c'est moi. Non, ne parlez pas. Donnez-moi plutôt un numéro où je pourrais vous rappeler. Très bien. Je vous rappelle dans 5 minutes.
Allô, SCE? Oui, le numéro surveillé vient de recevoir un appel en anglais. Non, mais l'abonné doit se sentir surveillé. Il a tout de suite mis fin à la conversation. Il doit rappeler son correspondant à 833 05 90.
Allô, la préfecture? À quelle adresse correspond le 833 05 90? Oui, dépêchez-vous, c'est urgent.
Bonsoir, monsieur Berton.
Bonsoir.
Ah, tiens, on vient de vous entendre. C'était bien, très bien.
Merci. Mon téléphone est en dérangement. Ça ne vous ennuie pas que je me serve du vôtre?
Bien sûr. Allez-y.
Merci. Bonsoir, madame.
Bon, merci. Ça vient de l'aéroport du Bourget.
Trop loin. On arriverait trop tard. Allô? Allô, Lefebvre? Il vient d'avoir un contact. Il y a du rendez-vous dans l'air. Ne le lâchez pas.
D'accord.
Police, mettez-moi en communication avec votre centrale.
Mais monsieur...
Faites ce que je vous dis, s'il vous plaît.
Allô, ici Ré 06.
Ré 06, j'écoute.
J'ai un client qui est de la police et qui voudrait vous parler.
Allô? Écoutez-moi bien. Sur le pont Birakem, dans la direction Birakem-Passy.
Oui, j'ai bien compris. Pont Birakem, direction Birakem-Passy, moteur en marche, prêt à démarrer.
Dites-moi, c'est pas une blague, hein?
Faites ce qu'on vous dit. Et vérifiez surtout que vos portières arrière ne sont pas verrouillées.
Il vient de sauter dans un taxi garé en sens inverse.
Quelle compagnie?
G7.
Appelez-moi la G7. Allô? Allô, mademoiselle? Ici police.
Ah bah dites donc, c'est votre jour. Vous n'avez plus de voiture?
Contactez immédiatement le chauffeur qui vient de prendre un client sur le pont d'Irakem.
Oui, je sais, ne quittez pas. Allô? Allô, dièse 26? Dièse 26? Dièse 26? Il a dû débrancher son micro. Vous savez, ils le font souvent, hein.
Insistez, mademoiselle.
C'est ce que je fais. Dièse 26? Dièse 26? Et qu'est-ce que je lui demande?
Sa destination, mais faites ça discrètement.
Vous savez, maintenant, il ne reprendra l'écoute qu'à la fin de sa course. Dièse 26? Dièse 26? Dites donc, c'était un faux policier?
Presque. Insistez, mademoiselle.
Dièse 26? Dièse 26?
Dièse 26, j'écoute.
Ah, tout de même. Dites, vous allez dans quel coin?
Je suis libre, je viens de déposer mon client devant sa voiture. Ah tiens, le voilà qui passe.
Merci, mademoiselle. C'est foutu pour ce soir.
Good evening, Bertrand.
Good evening.
I'm afraid you've been a little sacrificed in this affair, Bertrand. I'm sorry.
I'm beginning to understand. Vlassov blew the cover on Menenberger. You wanted to warn them without being suspected yourself. So you let their names slip out at Felsen's funeral. Then there were two others who could have passed the word.
And in the situation in which you found yourself, it's evident that it wasn't me. It was you.
How long have you been working for the Russians?
Oh, 30 years.
The son of Sir Alfred. Perfect case of treason.
I beg you. Don't use words like treason to me. Keep them for people like Vlassov. Not for me. I've been a Marxist ever since I was 19. It's very long fidelity.
Why did you want to see me?
To offer you a way out.
The Menenberger route?
The same.
I'm not going to Moscow.
You realize, of course, don't you, Bertrand, that you can't stay here. It's prison for life.
And it would work out nicely for you, wouldn't it? Bertrand defects and takes all the guilt with him. Thanks. Just the same. Let us say it is my fidelity to myself.
How would you say in French, think it over. Réfléchissez. Good. Réfléchissez. Hmm?
Langley, March 15th, 4:30 p.m.
He picked up Bertrand with a forged passport. Got himself messed up in a car accident on the way out. So, I don't know what we would have done without you, Vlassov. 13 suicides, pretty well cleaned up Germany. Bertrand and Duval will be tried in France. Lane and Berger uncovered in England. Who? Jonathan Lane, George Berger, Foreign Office.
I had no British names on my list.
No, they were on my list. But I didn't have enough on them to show the Foreign Office. I took advantage of you to test out my hunch. Turns out I was right, though. They got wind of things and headed for Moscow. I hope they took warm coats. Davies. Okay, I'll be right there. Why don't you come along? This might interest you.
If the list is complete, is there any need for me to remain here?
6 months is a long time for a man to be cut off from the world. You'd be leaving us today. But I'd like you to see the plant before you go. This is our spectroanalysis laboratory. It's your new long-range bomber. We knew everything about it except the key factor, its range. We were stymied for 1 year on it. Then we got our hands on that. It's a coat hanger from one of your Tupolev airliners on the Moscow run. We got word that the machinings, you know, the metal shavings from the plane's wings, had been remelted. Used to make coat hangers. These boys were able to determine the composition of the metal alloy in the hanger. From there, they calculated the plane's weight and the range of the full bomb load. This is where we tinker with sight and sound. No doubt your people have one of these.
Probably. What is it?
We call it the organ. Can we have a little concert, Pete?
I have all of Mr. Vlassov's tapes here, sir.
Sit down, Mr. Vlassov.
Anything special you want him to say, Mr. Davies?
Yeah. Tell him how it works, Pete.
The principle is quite simple. Human vocal cords can make about 50 different sounds, and these compose speech. We separate these sounds and then put them back together as it suits us. Technically, it's a bit more complicated.
Nice gadget, huh?
Very nice. We have one just like it.
I know. This is Aram Atamian, one of our cut and paste experts. put together a slideshow you should see. Sit down. Remember that?
Of course. It's Philip Boyle, British intelligence. We met a few times in Turkey 3 or 4 years ago, both stationed in Ankara. I thought he was a very decent chap.
Did you know he'd given us your name for future reference?
Hmm?
According to Boyle, that photo was taken 17 July 1967 in Turkey near the Russian border. Say, Aram, you're Turkish, aren't you?
Armenian, sir. But I grew up in Turkey.
Yeah, that's right. Do you recognize that particular area?
Sure. My parents used to take us on outings to see Mount Ararat. Sort of a shrine for Armenians. That's it in the background. 16,500 feet high. It's where Noah landed with the Ark, you know.
Yeah. If he'd known he was going to be the father of the Soviet Navy, he'd have picked another mountain, huh? As we were saying, that shot of you and Boyle was taken in Turkey in 1967. Is that right?
Right.
And I think you're going to find this next shot fascinating.
Let me have the blow-up of this section. Notice that the peak is on the left in this shot. All right, Tom. Here's Ararat as seen from the Turkish side. Now the peak is on the right.
In that case, this picture couldn't have been taken in Turkey, as you said it was.
In fact, the Soviets used this same angle in their official tourist photo, with the peak on the left.
Your memory was a little out of focus, comrade. You didn't meet Boyle in Turkey. You met him in the Soviet Union. Now, just what was Philip Boyle, the number 2 man in British intelligence, doing with you in the Soviet Union?
Why don't you ask Phil Boyle that?
It's a little late for that, I'm afraid. Boyle's vanished in a cloud of vodka. He's already in Moscow. I suppose that's a pretty good answer in itself. For the past 5 years, you and Boyle have been designing the biggest goddamn monkey wrench that's ever been tossed into the machine. And you broke a lot of good wheels, too, comrade. All right, Tom.
General von Strelitz, Sigurd von Nassau, Adolf Schellenberg, Professor Manfred Brynner, Dr. Joachim Hess, Fritz Bender, Hans Ebert, Horst Felsen, De Waal, and Lucien Berton.
You branded them as traitors. Every last one of them was clean. Boyle cut them down. We bought the murders as suicides. I accidentally threw a wrench into your works when I added Lane and Berger to your list. Boyle couldn't figure it out. Couldn't contact you, so he tipped off his pals, tried to lay it off on Berton, but he missed. He panicked, and he ran. Now then, Comrade Vlassov, do you still claim that you're not here to act against the interests of the United States?
I believe I have already answered that question. In front of a lie detector.
That's right, you did.
Did you ask for political asylum in the United States?
Yes.
Did you do so with the intention of acting against the interests of the United States?
No.
Lie number 1. And the machine caught it.
My action was not directed against the United States. It was directed against the tyrants who rule my country. I love my country.
Once again, Mr.
Lie number 2, the outraged patriot bit. You knew he'd spot the second lie, because you'd built a whole ruined career for us to follow. And by tacking on the second lie to the first one, you made them read as one. You damn near beat the machine, comrade. End of the tour, for you anyway.
You need 2 more portraits to complete your album, Mr. Davis.
Yeah, whose?
Mine. And yours.
I know.
Six months later, somewhere on the border between East and West Germany at dawn.
Nice to see you, Berto. Feeling better?
Yes, almost. I appreciate your letting me watch this.
There's our man.
Your man. I would have bet he'd get the electric chair, for 30 years at least. And here you are trading Vlassov for one of your pilots.
It's fair enough. One American for one Russian.
You're getting the worst of the deal.
Ah, we're not. Vlassov isn't worth anything anymore. But the pilot can help us understand how the Russians were able to knock down a reconnaissance aircraft flying at 60,000 feet. That's the deal. I'm sorry.
I'll miss these.
Let's go. Check him out, Connolly.
It's him.